Okay. So, yeah, that's where we left it. I'm just going to harden my edges. I like to have hard edges on my models just so that I can see all the facets and stuff. And we can start to see we're starting to build, actually, surprisingly, a bit of structure for his cheeks here and his eyes and stuff where it kind of kicks in and behind. And so we're starting to see a little bit of structure coming in. Okay, so let's move on to do the mouth loops. So in the side view, what I want to do is I actually want to create a hole for his mouth, and that's going to be always my start point because that's going to be the innermost loop for the edge loops around for his mouth. And so what we've got to do is we've got to insert an edge loop. Now, when I do this, I'm going to end up undoing it again, but if I just go to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, if I put one in, I want to get it quite close so that I have a very small opening for his mouth. But what that does is it sticks a line. You can see it goes all the way around the object, and it's really close, which means I need to now move 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 verts. I need to separate them up and down to kind of average out the sizes and positions and stuff. So that's a lot of work, so I don't want to do that. So first thing is I know I'm going to be inserting a loop in here. So let's make some space before we even do the insert. So I'm just going to go to Vertex. Oh, let me go to Object Mode. Let me X-ray it so I stay on model here. So Control 0. And I'm just going to grab these and I'm gonna drag them down. So I'm going to make some space. And these can come down. And these can go up a little bit. So, you know, again, I want to go up space and spread these out a bit more. Yeah, might be all right. What is that one? Don't know. I'm gonna leave it. Okay, and okay, so fine. So now I'm going to insert edge loop. So Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, and I'm not going. Weirdest thing ever. I'm not going to stick it really close to the mouth. I'm actually just going to cut. What in the world? Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, click and drag, and I'm going to center it. Done. I don't know why they're not even. Probably the backface culling. Okay, so I'm going to hit Q, I'm going to exit the tool, and then that's put this pretty much dead center. And now I just need to move, like, say, a few verts to bring them down. So these verts come down, and I want to match them over top of the ones I've got. So there we go. And then we can literally go in and we can blow these faces away. So delete, delete. And we have a little mouth hole for Homer, and of course there's some adjusting we can do, like that needs to go back onto this line, and these can come down and reposition themselves, and you know, if I need to adjust, just to average these out nicer and keep the flow going. This point needs to come down and touch where the ear is. Maybe this one can touch where the bottom of the ear is attached and coming out, and then, you know, we can kind of see what we need to do here. Yeah, it's all right. So let's check what that looks like in perspective. So in perspective, oh, that's weird, right? So half the face hasn't been really touched, and that's the backface culling. So if I go back to object mode and unbackface cull, the reason for that was obviously when I'm in the side view, I can't see the character's right half. So let's just remirror the geo at this point. So I'm just going to go into the front view. Again, you have to make sure your backface culling is off, and then I'm going to go to face, and I'm going to select half, and I'm going to delete them. And then I'm just going to go into object mode, and I'm going to go mesh, mirror geometry, and in the options, I just want to mesh, mirror geometry, and I want the negative x half. So this is the positive x half. I want the negative x half. The rest is merge. Yeah, merge verts. Bingo. There we go. So now we've got Homer back. And if I click off and reselect, and maybe just on X-ray so I can see that it's going on a bit better. So now we've got him back a little bit. Left and right are the same. Okay, so we have the mouth hole, if you will, and then we can start to adjust this. He has this massive overbite, so we'll I have to just sort of play with that one as we go, but we've got the structure sort of looking all right. Let's just check left to right here again. So there's a vert that should be on the line. Yeah, so that needs to scale out a little bit just so that I'm getting this round line action going on. I don't know which one that one is. Okay, yep, so select those. Those can come out a little bit. Maybe down a bit. We've got these ones. Let's see what they've got going for us. Yeah, why not? And those can go a bit wider. And then I know the corners of the mouth here in the side view, they're right at the far edge of this corner of his mouth, and they're not here, so those need to scale out to match. And these look like, because his mouth kind of makes a, I could probably travel up slightly. There you go. So now we've got kind of more of a Homer-shaped mouth. Does that match in the side view? Yeah, it's not bad. Cool. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just give a bit more structure to his lips, because really it is just a hole. So let's maybe attempt at this point to see what we can do for getting a bit more sort of lip structure going on. So what I want to do is I literally want to sort of cut around. And is this a good time to do a proxy? Maybe. Yeah, I think it is. So let's proxy, because we're now going into sort of symmetrical work and we have the basic structure in. So let's blow away half the head. So face mode, select half his head, delete half the faces, and then we want to go into object mode. I'm going to just delete the history so we have a clean piece of geo to work with. It's been frozen. And the usual things apply, like the center line needs to be straight and it needs to be snapped to this center grid line. And I was pretty sure I didn't nudge my line anywhere, so I'm not even going to bother checking it or redoing it or resnapping or anything like that. I'm just going to go and do the proxy and see what happens. So let's check this out in perspective. So I'm going to un-X-ray that. And I'm going to go to, so with the head geo selected, I'm going to go to mesh. In the very bottom of that mesh menu is smooth proxy and subdiv proxy and options, because I'm not sure if I've changed my options here at home on this laptop. So let's make this window a bit bigger so we can see everything. So top portion we can ignore. So mirror behavior none. Well, that's no good. I definitely want a half, because I have half. I want a mirror to get the other half. This is the positive x half, so I want to get the negative x half. I want to keep the shader here, so otherwise it's going to make the proxy half transparent. So what it actually does is it creates a new Lambert material, assigns it to the proxy half, and then makes the transparency on the Lambert 50%. I don't want to hassle with any of that, so I'm just going to keep whatever shader I have on this side, goes on to the other side, which is the default shading group. I like to put my smooth mesh in a layer. Saves me having to do it because it's going to go there anyways. And I don't really want the layer reference because we have to do a couple of things to the proxy half before we reference that layer. So I'm going to tell it to make the layer normal, which means I can just select the object. And that's it, smooth away. So there's my proxy half. So the first thing is I don't want to see this smooth. I want to go into, so select the proxy half, go to where it says polysmooth proxy 1, exponential level 1. So what it is, it put a mesh smooth on there, so I don't want to see that. So 0 for my exponential level gives me my base level mesh back. My 0 level is the level that I modeled. So I want that. And then if I'm modeling and I x-ray the half that I'm modeling and I go into the side view, I want to be able to see the reference image. And I can't. And I can't because we are looking at the inside of the proxy half. So I don't want to x-ray the proxy half because I find that kind of annoying. So what I do is I select the proxy half and I backface cull it. And when you backface cull it, all of the faces where the normal is not facing the camera aren't drawn by Maya. So when I look in the side view, I can see through it because the inside isn't drawn. The outside is, but not the inside, right? So now that I've exponential level 0 and I backface culled it, now I can go to my reference, my layer here and reference it. I'm also going to rename this layer because head geo smooth mesh doesn't mean anything. So this is going to be the proxy with an R. proxy underscore display layer. Save. And I actually want to name this not head geo1, but this is going to be proxy geo. So in my outliner, again, I have this group, which is a really cumbersome name, head geo smooth proxy group. I'm just going to call this proxy underscore group. So I've got a proxy group, pretty obvious what that is, head geo and proxy geo, so I can tell them apart, and I have a proxy display layer, so perfect. So now we're ready to do some work. So on Omer's head here, what I want to do is I actually want to just create another loop really close to this border. So I'm going to get the multi-cut for that. So Mesh Tools, multi-cut tool, and I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to start, and try and get it in as close as I can, and just, I'm clicking edge to edge as I go all the way around, and then I finish up. And the nice thing with the proxy is it puts the other side in for us. So if we turn on our wireframe unshaded, you can see that it's doing the other half. Now, what it does do, though, by doing that, so I'm just going to hit Q to exit the multi-cut. It creates these, I've got two triangles here now, right? So if I go to face mode, there's one, there's two. So I want to get rid of those. So I think for right now, what I'll do, simplest thing, is go into edge mode and select the edges that we put in. So that created the triangle when we cut across here, and the same for the bottom. And what we'll do is we'll just collapse those edges. So edit mesh, collapse. And you can see that collapses the edges, like merging the verts. And we need to do a slight adjustment here, and it turns everything back into quads. And what that means is I can now take my border edge here. So select the top one and then shift, double click the bottom one, and it selects the loop going around. And those can just sort of get shoved back into his face. And the corners can come in a bit closer, so those two verts there, just drag in a bit. And if we want to round it some more, we can push that back a bit more maybe. So now we've started to create a little bit of depth for his lips. And if we look in the side view, we might have to, adjust this, and looks all right. So I'm going to do maybe one more, and that's going to maybe help us with this severe overbite that he has. So I'm going to put another loop in, roughly at the level there of his overbite, so when it goes around, we can actually pull those verts out, and hopefully that'll give us a little bit more of a Homer-looking Homer. So again, multi-cut, so Mesh Tools, multi-cut, and this is about the level we want, so right there, and I'm just going to click and drag around, trying to maintain I obviously don't have the multi-cut tool. Or do I? Oh, maybe because I'm missing. Let's try that. Come on. Click. Yeah. There. Just drag around. Trying to keep about the same distance around. And then we can exit the tool, so Q. And we can maybe pull these points out. So this point definitely should be out here somewhere. And that one's going to come with it. It's going to look a bit weird, I think. Let me X-ray this. So let's go into object mode. Control 0. Come on. And oh yes, the old classic switcheroo on the X-ray. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that X-ray. I might have to use the cheat method. So now we've got a bit. It looks really weird, doesn't it? Got a bit of his overbite going on. Looks pretty weird. So let's do some adjusting because it does look really weird. So we know that it's probably going to come out here, and this is where we can use the move normal. What I'll do just quickly is I'm going to hold down W, left mouse click in the middle. And I'm gonna switch my move tool to component, and that will allow me to pull in the direction that the normals are kind of already facing. Oh, we forgot to do the collapse as well. Yeah. So let's do that actually, because I made a couple more triangles. So let's select these two bases of the triangles that we made and collapse those. And then we can adjust the points. And we're clearly missing geo. I mean, it's just we don't have the resolution to really make this look super smooth or anything, but let's pull these points in. I'm just going to switch this back into world space so I can just drag these further over, which is going to allow me to grab these ones and drag those further over. Maybe just bring them together a bit more. And down a bit, and let's rotate them. And then I can grab up here, W left mouse component, and let's slide that in a bit and out a bit. Let's make this out. Let's make this go down and in. And yeah, weird, but getting there. So let me just, in object mode, let's hit 3 and maybe turn off the wireframe unshaded. And we've got a bit overbite. It's not the greatest, but it's there. It needs to be rounder. It needs to have like this obvious lip. So more loops and that kind of thing eventually, but for right now, not bad. Let's go back to 1. So I think the next step is going to be maybe just cleaning up this loop flow here. And there's something else that I kind of want to do as well, which is, oh no, actually that's not too bad. Yeah, we can live with that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to just delete the history. Let's check, because I know people were saying it wasn't working anymore, but it seems to work on mine. So it's just, you're just deleting the history on the head that you're working on. If you delete the history on the proxy half, then that's probably going to kill the connection. So I'm just deleting it on the head, not on the proxy. So I haven't selected both pieces of geometry. And that's it. There, you know, it's already frozen and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'll just harden my edges again, which means I now have a history input. So I'm going to delete that history again. And we'll call it there, and we'll come back and we'll add a bit more detail to the mouth and undo the eye holes, and well, the ears are next, so we'll get to that.